and Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.
Hello and welcome to Talking Reds, a Nottingham Forest podcast. I hope you've got your singing voices ready. I'm your host, Greg Oram, along with my fellow Forest fanatic from across the Atlantic, Richard Spray. Bit of classic there. Yeah, in keeping with what this episode's going to be all about. Richard Spray in Oklahoma. How are you this morning?
Oh, great! Come on, this is a chance to speak to a legend. We are very privileged. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you, Greg.
Awesome. Now then, we all love a bit of a sing-song, I'm sure, and there's nothing better than brilliant lyrics over the top of a proper catchy tune, turned up to 11 and belted out for all to hear. But actually, you know what? There probably is one thing better. And that's when you do all of that and then add on top that the songs in question are all about our beloved Nottingham Forest and magnificent players. And over the past year or so, we have been truly treated to some absolute bangers, courtesy of our special guests today, with fabulous covers about Ryan Yates, Anthony Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi and all the rest, as well as a masterpiece of a Christmas compilation and a track about the journey to the Champions League. Our guest has lit up social media and the fan base and left us all wanting more. He's a man who up until now was preferred to remain anonymous, but now, quite rightly, steps forward into the spotlight to spend an hour with us to chat about his amazing creations. This is going to be a good one, so sit back and enjoy the one with the Garibaldi Bard.
Striding forward, a try and send Forest to Wembley. Captain Yates, but the captain, Ryan Yates, the man out of Forest. It's Choppy. Yes, to score.
Is there free?
First half, Ola here has bulldozed his way through challenge.
Oh! Yes!
Milenkovic scores.
Tackle it! For God's sake, tackle it! Why aren't you tackling it?
Goldberg.
How is that happened? It's literally what they do.
Right wing for Hudson-Odoi. Brilliant from Gibbs White. Hudson-Odoi into the penalty area. Right hand side.
Yes!
Post and scores!
Yes!
Callum Hudson-Odoi. And he fires it in from just outside the penalty area. Elliot Anderson scores a first Forest goal. Elanga forward for Wood, inside left channel, great shot! Forest are ahead! It's Chris Wood! The first time they've remotely
I've seen more tackle on Pornhub. What's he have?
The man himself.
Quite a few.
The man himself is all right. You know what? We love our intros and any excuse to make them as long as anything. And with you coming on, Mr. Bard, I thought we have to have a little bit of a mega mix. How can I kind of jazz it up? Of course, look, bit of Colin Frey underneath and so on. So here you are. Real name, for those that can't see the screen, is Jack Thompson. You are the Garibaldi Bard. Welcome to Talking Reds.
That's right. Far uglier and older than you probably thought I was. Here I am. In
Well,
total
you know
darkness because I can't figure out a ring light. So
I know. You look great, and we're thrilled to have you with us. We are going to move straight into it. We ask everybody who comes on to tell us their own sort of Forest story. So how, why, who, what, where, when did you become a Forest fan?
Through my dad. So forever, I've been a Forest fan. Joined up. I think my first game was it was an under-23s game, an England under-23s game, like way back in the day. I remember sitting on the steps as piss trickled down. My dad very excited to me and incredibly bored. I think I was far too young for that. But the first game that I properly enjoyed that I went to was in '96, and it was Forest versus Spurs. It was 2-1 victory. Brian Roy brace, sat in the Trent end. Unbelievable. Yeah.
So hooked since then, basically.
Hooked since then. That's what made me fall in love with the game. Specifically, it was Tottenham had it on the right wing, and they went to cross it, and it hit Stuart Pearce square in the face, and he no-sold it completely and just carried on. You know, proper Stuart Pearce things, just like taking one in the chops and not being bothered. That nowadays, that's rolling around for 10 minutes, isn't it? That's like,
yeah. Absolutely. If you are watching along, don't forget to get involved in the comments. We want to hear from you as well. If you've got any questions for the Bard, then please do pop them in the comments. If you're tuning into this episode a bit later on, thank you for joining us on Apple or Spotify. I also should probably quickly do this.
Please do go ahead and hit like and subscribe to be sure not to miss any future episodes from Talking Reds.
As I said at the start, you know, you've pretty much lit up the fan base in the last year or so. And we're going to talk all about the music, all about the tracks. But I mean, what is your background when it comes to, you know, just regular life, really? And, you know, how much of a massive part does music play in what you do? I mean, obviously, you know, you putting these songs together. I mean, have you played in any bands, or is part of the dream being to make it in music full time?
yeah, huge part of my life. That's basically all I wanted to do. I thought I'd be a rock star by now, and I wouldn't have to do all these things, try and get noticed. But no, it's just since school, I was in a band at school. It was kind of like put together. It was just a bunch of us mates who just happened to pick up instruments, and I happened to be the singer, the front man in that regard, and that made me fall in love with it. Really, there was my music teacher, Miss Butchok, who kind of just turned around to one day and just went, "You got a good voice," and I was just like, "Oh, thank you very much." And that defined the rest of my life, basically. I went to college for musical performance. I got in a few bands there. I was in a band called Hijack, which sounds very what's the word for it when it's just like yeah, very about me, too much about me. That was when you've got your name in the band name. I don't like that. But yeah, from there I was in a few more bands. For whatever reason, never worked out as much as I wanted to. But I always enjoyed the process. So when it came to this, I've been working in IT for a bit, and I call this, the Garibaldi Bard, my creative comfort food. It was just something that, I've been working on IT. I want to do something to kind of get it out. I love Nottingham Forest. I love music. Why not?
That's brilliant. So how do you kind of pivot from that band experience, wanting, being that front man, to kind of into this sort of new mantle, this new persona that gets Garibaldi Bard? So what kind of started the process? Because I know, like Greg said, it's only been around for about a year now, and you've done so much, obviously, in that time frame, and probably more than you ever could have imagined with it.
It's been around a little bit longer, because if you go back, I've got one for Gustavo Scarpa, which was the first one. So Scarpa came in.
Gotcha.
And it was mainly because I don't get to go to many games. So I was just like, well, I've got an idea for this song. I just heard it on the radio and just went, Gustavo Scarpa. And I was just like, okay, well, I don't get to many games, so I'm not going to be able to sing that. So I'm just going to record it, put it out there, and see if anyone kind of like picks it up, especially in the away end, because the away end's good for getting the singers involved and getting new songs going. So yeah, I just thought I'd do that and put it out there. As again, it was nothing serious. It's not like kind of like it was an idea to kind of like, oh yeah, this is going to take off with the fan base. It was just something stupid that I was just putting out there, see if it will pick up, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, whatever. And then I did a little one for Borkin Gibbs White, which is not on there anymore because it was terrible. That's the only one I've ever deleted, by the way. That one's gone. And one for Taiwo, a one year. But I guess it wasn't until the Callum Hudson-Odoi one, the original one, to American Pie, and more specifically, Ryan Yates, he's one of our own, the Phil Collins one. that one kind of like captured on Twitter. Who is it? Oh, what I keep forgetting his name. There's a guy on Twitter. Is it AO? The bunch of numbers, I'm not sure, but he's got a blue tick and he shared it and stuff like that, and all of a sudden my followers started going, and yeah, the rest is history. After that, he kind of like helped me out because it gave me a bit to keep going with it, you know what I mean? Just kind of just like a little bit of praise, a little bit kind of like recognition, all of a sudden all the dopamine's kicking, and it's just like, oh yeah, people are loving this, and then you carry on doing it, right?
Well, that's it. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's funny because I've got your whole back catalogue, and I looked and saw that the Scarpa track was the first one. And for those of you that haven't heard the Scarpa track, we're going to give you a quick blast of it now.
No, I said it's true. I can feel the love. Can you feel it too? Gustavo Scarpa. Gustavo Scarpa. No, I said it's true. I can feel the love. Can you feel it too?
I mean, that's a pretty catchy track, and that, you know, that one sort of came, as you say, quite early. Well, it was the first one, and yeah, almost like a bit of a gap between doing that one and thinking, you know, do I do something else, or maybe you're doing other things. Yeah. But certainly, I suppose, as Forest have kind of improved and the mood has kind of lifted, is kind of like the wave was kind of growing, and your kind of stuff kind of, you know, came along at the same kind of time, and everyone's kind of looking for highs, aren't they? And we had some lows in the last 2 seasons, and so when you get something funky happening, when you get something groovy happening, the fans are a really fantastic fan base. I mean, I know that it's obvious we're going to say that, but you know, everyone's really, really supportive. So, of course, if people are getting carried away with it a little bit and enjoying what you're doing, you're going to do more. And yeah, you know, I saw on social media. Some of the guys at Red Side of the Trent, I think, were kind of getting involved, and some of the other guys were going, oh, why don't you try this? And so, yeah, the Callum Hudson-Odoi track, the Ryan Yates track, definitely stand out. And then we had that kind of burst of new signings and so on. So there was a few new signings coming in, like the Ramon Sosa track and the Jota Silva track, Sangare, which, you know, everyone's hopefully heard in the intro. But, I mean, how long does it take you one song to kind of create? Okay, what is the process of you picking a song, picking a player, and kind of starting from scratch?
Sometimes they happen by accident. So the first one with American Pie, Callum Hudson-Odoi one, which got me back into it, was just me walking down the canal with my dog and just going, and then just like, yeah, throwing his name in there, and it just happened. So I was just like, okay, I've got precedence for this. I'll just go home and record it and just go and do it. Sometimes deliberately I'll kind of just Spotify shuffle and just kind of like put some names on there, just kind of go absolute cheese songs, and just kind of like, you know, try and put some names to it if I'm literally going out and trying to search for it. But usually they come quite organically. The ones that are original, by the way, that's, yeah, I can't take credit for the Callum Hudson-Odoi one or the Elanga one or anything like that. But the process is quite simple. It's just posh karaoke, really. So yeah, I just rip the song off YouTube and put it into Logic and then just sing over it. So as far as that, it might, you know, it takes a few tweaks in there just to make sure the sound is right, and if I've got to do any backing vocals and all that kind of like stuff. So that's not difficult. The difficulty for me, or the time process kind of like thing for me, is just the videos. Is like editing the videos more than anything else. Absolutely nicking all of Nottingham Forest media, and for myself, and reappropriating it. Yeah,
it's really amazing to think about, like, the fact that you've entered this space with such like ferocity now, because like with the Anthony Elanga one, what I loved was that there was something dropped, right? And I think he even put something out there personally, like with a video, and it's kind of like this expectation now that you are going to pick that up and do something with it, which I think is so incredible. Yeah.
I get so many tags now, and I feel bad because like sometimes I'm just like, kind of, that's a bit rubbish, or they're really good, and I'm just like, oh, I'm kind of like upset that you've done that. There is a bit of it where I love everyone sending me some stuff, because it's, you know, it can make my job very easy, especially when I'm looking for stuff. But I don't know. if someone puts something in my lap, I'm kind of like, especially if I've already had the idea, and then someone else sends it me, like kind of like shortly after, because I think someone's pinged me in a Piano Man kind of like thing where they've just like kind of like changed the lyrics to Piano Man a bit. And it was like something that I already had in my mind, and I was just like, I don't know whether I want to do that anymore, because then it becomes a whole thing. So I might do it, I might not, but it's the suggestions, they're really good, and I love them, especially the Ola Aina one came straight from the Red Side, the Trent or Mr. Rolling In podcast. Sorry. So I do appreciate it, and I will adapt if it does it, but it's just. That's where we are with suggestions, I guess.
Yeah, Greg talked about the one for Christmas and how much his son Orlando loves that one. And of course, we played that for everybody in my family. So you're famous in the U.S. as well, by the way, not just I'm sure through your dad too, of course, whether the NFFC and NA group. But
absolutely. I told everyone I want to stay anonymous, and there's my dad telling absolutely everyone that the Garibaldi Bard is his son. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as we got our actual intro music, because that was it was a great idea from our buddy Raph on the podcast, who was like, why don't you ask the bar? And we're like, oh my gosh, how could we not think of that? So we of course reached out to you, and you were very gracious to do that. But the Xmas one, Christmas compilation, that was, I mean, incredible, like breadth of things, right? And reinventing what you're doing for each one of these players. So what was the time frame to get that put together? Because that must have taken ages to do that. I mean, maybe you already had the ideas, like you said, so they were already kind of like the seeds were planted, but how long did that take? And just I can only imagine the amount of planning it would take in kind of conjunction with the videos and everything else that goes into it.
Yeah. I started, I knew it was going to take a while, so I started that at the end of October. So my neighbors must have been right pissed off that I was singing Christmas songs like before Halloween had like kicked off, like blaring through the walls, and me singing about Ola Aina, bobbing and weaving. It took ages. It was just one of those things where it was something that I had to do. Once I thought of it, I just had to do it. The old kind of like idea of the old CD infomercials that would kind of like go place and just like, blast through it. And Jimmy, Nottingham Forest, so grateful for him jumping on there, because I love what he does. And again, it's one of these rising things in the community. It's this positive feeling that's going around the club of just like all these traitors coming out of the woodwork, and just like getting to express themselves. For the club.
I mean, collaborations are really important, I think, and so I mean, we were thrilled that you agreed to do our new theme for us, because and as Richard rightly says, props to Raph, who is a regular contributor. We'd said, we want to get a new theme, and he said, no, why don't you ask the Bard? And I was like, oh my god, that's an amazing idea. Do you think you'd do it? And that's when we approached you, thinking you might be busy, you might think, I don't want to do it, but you were like so gracious to say, you know what, that sounds like a pretty cool project. I wouldn't mind doing that. And then you were able to put something together based off a bit of feedback from us pretty quickly, and kind of got the instant feel of what our groove was straight away. And it was, Well,
you were very lucky that's basically one of the songs from my old band. So it was there already. The template was there already. It's just that you kind of like sent me that vibe of stuff, and I was just like, I've got stuff for this already. And I was just like, what song can they have?
No, I mean, listen, it's for us. It's still an original. I mean, with as far as records go, and the lyrics as well. It just became so catchy, and that's the thing about the stuff you're doing. I know that you're basing all the player stuff on well-known tracks, so everyone kind of already knows the tune and knows that. It's the lyrics that you put into them as well. It's not just the music; it's the actual lyrics that you're putting in as well that are like almost like the coolest part of it, because that's really important.
There are a few that I'm like really disappointed haven't taken off. There are like a couple of them where I'm just like, that's really good, and then no one absolutely bothers with like singing them. Like the Elliot Anderson one. I know it's too wordy. I know it's far too wordy and stuff like that. But I love the Elliot Anderson one, even though it is Coldplay.
Maybe that's it though. I mean, I was going to ask you, maybe is it because that the original track isn't so loved? I don't know, because the Elliot Anderson one is cool, but I hear what you're saying, because I was like, that's not one of my favorite ones. But Orlando, my kid, who I told you about, adores you. He loves that one. He's like singing that one non-stop. He sings them all. So that kind of grew on me. But even the Ibrahim Sangare one, maybe I'm thinking Sangare's not playing. I know he's a bit of a bone of contention. So maybe the popularity of the player has something to do with it as well.
Yeah. Well, the Nikola Milenkovic one as well. I was just like, I got so much abuse from that from Liverpool fans. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Just like through DMs and stuff, because they had it for Luis Diaz. So like, they was just like, you've nicked one of our songs, and I literally had no idea. I only picked it because it was Milenkovic's initiation song, and I was just like, oh yeah, that would really work as a song. And then I found out very shortly after that Luis Diaz had one that was like kind of like going a bit viral. Next thing you know, got Liverpool fans DM me. I was just like, get out of here, mate.
This is the thing, though. I mean, the thing on the terraces, a lot of the songs are adopted very quickly. I'm a firm believer that we were the first club that did Waka Waka. I was there at Palace Away, and it was unbelievable. And then, of course, the whole country's doing it. The Murillo song to Pepsi and Shirley, or Pepsi and Shirley,
Salt and Pepper.
Salt and Pepper. I'm saying Pepsi and Shirley. So showing my age now, aren't I? Salt and Pepper. That's doing the rounds now on the terraces elsewhere as well. So these things, definitely get picked up. I want to quickly jump in the comments and say, morning to Brucey, who's with us. He's asking, are you going to be singing live? I'm not sure we're going to get a live performance today. The Alanga one is definitely one of Brucey's favourites. Wolfie from Forest Fan TV says, big up, boys. What a great guest you have. We definitely attest to that. Raf is with us, who he says, thanks, guys. Was a home run. It certainly was, suggesting this gentleman to do our cover track. Great guest, says Tricky Fred. Nice to see the face behind the music. And Paul Morley says, favourite Bard line, we'll be jumping in the Trent with Ryan Yates. Ryan Yates is obviously a huge part of Forest. Are there any other players coming up that you are thinking about doing a track for? Because we don't have one for Gibbs White, we don't have one for Wood, we don't have one for Murillo as yet, like an original. Is there anything coming up?
I tend to, with the guys who have already got like chants and stuff like that, I tend to avoid them. I kind of like want to give it to new guys coming through, or the ones who haven't had them. And I've got a hard rule of not doing it for loan signings, even though Alex Marino commented on one of my videos kind of saying, where's mine? I was like, you can have it if you beat Man City. And he didn't, so he ain't got a song. So I have hard rules with some of them. You might get one. If he signs permanently, you'll get one, definitely. No, I haven't got anything planned specifically for a player. I have got yes, Nico definitely needs huge love. Yeah. He does indeed. I probably should do a Nico song. I really liked his one that I did for the Christmas compilation. Yeah, if that were a Christmas song, absolutely. Right. But no, I'm planning an original track, hopefully, for end of season. I don't think it'll be very catchy. It'll be probably more in line with the intro for your lovely podcast more than anything else. I wanted to do something original called Rebel City. Which really leans into that whole vibe that we got going, because I think that's pretty cool. I like the whole Rebel City vibe, and I don't know whether it was Forza Garibaldi who really kind of like pushed with that thing, but yeah, I really want to do that with like some kind of like intro that I might get you guys and some other content creators involved in if they want to do it. Just a bit of filming. But yeah. That's my next plan. So I've got a bit of time. I'm unemployed, so I've got a bit of time to actually get that going rather than,
yeah. Hopefully we can change that. I know you said you'd been in contact with Forest, so if anybody knows anybody who works at Nottingham Forest, please put a plug in for Jack to get a job, because we'd love to see more stuff out there from you. So yeah, that's brilliant.
Nottingham Forest. I know all I do is posh karaoke, and I edit together all your already established content. But give a guy a job. Come on, please. Absolutely. I'll do anything. Yeah, but get me on the netball. Get me on the academy. I don't care.
That's right.
Anything. Yeah. Get me in.
They need it as well. The women's team. Absolutely, man. You got options, right?
Yeah,
for sure. So I have a question because I know like we talked about Greg, similar with his dad. You know, he got involved in loving forest and became such a huge part of his life and a part of his family's life. And it's the same thing with me with my granddad. You know, my dad actual father's team is Spurs, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't even think I've ever told Greg that actually. But yeah, so okay. But I'm curious, like kind of chatting with your dad a little bit. Was music a big thing in your household? Because I know like with us, Saturday mornings, where we clean the house and then on comes the Who, the Doors, Led Zeppelin, Moody Blues. Like, I mean, all the 80s stuff, right? Because it was the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s
Absolutely.
and 90s. And so was it similar in your household too? Because it seems like you have a lot of versatility. You like a lot of different music. Maybe some of the tracks aren't your like personal favorite. Like you said, Coldplay's maybe not one of your personal favorites, but just it fit the framework of what you're trying to do. But is your catalog of music taste like kind of like that? Is it very versatile? And did you kind of get that from your dad?
Oh,
from
yeah.
your family?
Yeah. Like when it was my mum, it was like Wham and Meatloaf. When I was with my dad, when I was at my dad's, it was the Jam, Sex Pistols, all that kind of like stuff. And then I fell in love with the old music, even like my grandma with like Neil Diamond and stuff. But I fell in love with Michael Jackson was my guy growing up and stuff like that. And so it was like I would listen to Jackson 5 all the time. So where does Jackson 5 lead to? It leads into Motown. You get into your Stevie Wonders and everything else. So I'm like trapped in a very old soul. I love old blues, old soul music. Kind of like that. That's my vibe. That's where you'll find me. You'll find me listening to Al Green while everyone else is listening to something relatively modern. But I think that's helped because mainly the music that I do is kind of like rock, but I try and give it, you know, some Stevie Wonder vibes or something along those lines.
Quite soulful. You got a very soulful voice, Jack.
Oh, really. Thank you very much.
No, you have. I mean, I don't want to talk about me, but my background, I was in performing arts and drama and musical theatre. So the Commitments, for example, I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. And your vibe is really soulful. And it kind of, in moments when you're singing as well, it's like you can just hear that kind of like soul. Like I think it's like the Garibaldi Bard, like the way you kind of pull that out. It's like really cool, and you can just tell that that's the natural tone in your voice. I love the dog bark in the background.
I know,
we said he'd probably come and get involved at some point, didn't we? There he is.
Absolutely.
But I love the idea you were talking about of creating your own original song for Forest. It's completely in keeping with what the Garibaldi Bard is. I don't think the Garibaldi Bard, in my eyes, is just a cover guy, a glorified karaoke guy. I think it's more than that. I think we love all that kind of stuff, but coming up with an original track, the Rebel City, the Rebels, or whatever it is you call it, again, it's just so in keeping with what Nottingham Forest is as a club. I mean, so when it comes down to it, what does inspire you mainly and mostly in the your music choices? Is it that Al Green kind of stuff that you reference then? Is there anything more modern that's inspiring you as well?
Yeah, so it's all that old Motown stuff mainly, but there's kind of like blues rock, like Free. They're probably my most favorite band ever. Paul Rodgers, Led Zeppelin, and then more modern, it'll probably be like the Black Keys and the White Stripes. That kind of like vibe. That's the music I love. So yeah, when it becomes the music you love, I guess I am inspired by them. But yeah, Michael Jackson. Just like kind of like the songwriting and all the stuff that he did, the entertainment factor. Never going to achieve that. He's once in a lifetime. As long as he's keeping his hands clean, he's the greatest. He's the greatest entertainer, the greatest performer of my lifetime. Yeah, I take inspiration from all of them, whether it's the Jam and the Sex Pistols or Wham and Meatloaf. It's kind of like it all kind of like congregates together into one musical being, I guess.
Incredible. Love it, man. That's the same way. Yeah, like Greg. I mean, we talk music all the time. I think in our WhatsApp, like I'll send him videos and send him like new tracks that I found that I'm like, oh my gosh, man, you got to hear this, kind of thing. So that's brilliant. Just a couple of quick things I wanted to jump into the comments real quick. Paul Morley, who you've probably seen on Force Focus, he comes on our podcast as well. Brilliant guy. He says video editing on the way to Barcelona is epic. particularly Tati's little jig in time to the music for the Roma bit. So that's well done, man.
Yeah, I get very lucky with this stuff more than anything else. So like, kind of like, don't give me too much credit, Paul. Yeah, it's just like kind of just like get a video and just kind of go, oh look, he's doing a little dance, and then put it in, and it just magically times itself rather than I'm not doing anything special with it. But thank you.
But you gotta like discover it, and it's gotta percolate. You know, I mean, like that creative mind that you have. See, it's like, you know, Greg with his intros, he kind of gets these ideas through a course of the match. Like I think there was one he did with Prodigy the other day, you know, that was absolutely fantastic. And it's like that was already sort of like, so I think you guys are kindred spirits, because it's like you're watching something and you're already extrapolating from that, like, ooh, I know what I want to do with this. You know, it's like the idea is already sort of developing in real time, which is awesome. Real quick question from Raf. What gives you the larger buzz? Singing live to fans in your band, or hearing one of your songs being belted out the city ground?
Tough one. Because I haven't had one of my songs being belted out at the city ground. It's been the Hudstadoy one, which was already sung by the away fans, and then I kind of like helped it take off a bit, I guess. But it wasn't mine. And then there was, you know, Is This the Way to Barcelona was already being sang. It was just like kind of like helped it catch on, and just something I would enjoy where I could make it a full song rather than just that chorus. I just thought that'd be cool to do. So yeah, but there's nothing beating a live performance. That's a special feeling that kind of like any musicians here will probably agree with me. Any kind of like performers, there's just something about feeding off that crowd. Maybe when one of my original songs does get sung, but get belted out the city ground, and I'm kind of just like stood there in the Trent End or something along those lines, that maybe I'll feel it. But
I think what we need to do, we need to probably speak to Fothers and speak to Matt Davis at Forest Focus and see if there's any way we can get you into the Trent Nav, because you know that they obviously have people on the stage afterwards, especially if you've got like your original track, and you know, there's got to be something that can be done to kind of like just get you on the stage for like half an hour, or even supporting the what's the chap the blonde hair. His dad was in Status Quo. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
Rick Parfitt.
Yeah, Rick Parfitt Jr. Rick Parfitt Jr. has played the Nav. Even if like you were supporting Rick Parfitt for like something, we've got to try and make something happen. I think we'll speak to Greg Mitchell, as Raf says as well, because I think the fans would love to see and hear that, even if like you're just going on and supporting Rick Parfitt Jr. Because I know he does gigs there. So we're going to try and see if we can get something like that going on, I reckon. Let's try and create a little bit of a buzz. I mean, just going back to the players, I would love a song for Chris Wood. I think Chris Wood's kind of gone under the radar. He's got like a few things going on in the away end with Chris Wood's on fire, your defense, etc. I think I messaged you ages ago. I quite like the idea of like a cheesy Amy Stewart knock on wood kind of cover for Chris Wood, that kind of thing. So my personal plea would be sometime down the line a track for Chris Wood, because he's definitely deserved it. With everything he's done this season. We are about halfway through, and so it's about the right time that we just change tack and we ask everybody who comes on to give us their all-time favourite Forest 11. These players are the Garibaldi Bards. And in goal, you've gone for Brice Samba, a back four of Stuart Pearce, Murillo, Des Walker, and Jed Spence. Midfield, two of Ryan Yates and Morgan Gibbs-White. On the flanks, Brennan Johnson and Andy Reid. And up top, you have chosen Pierre Van Hooydonk and Stan Collymore. So popular names pop up quite often. We haven't got time to go into detail on all the players, Master Bard. But why have you chosen Jed Spence, I wonder? Because he was only a lone player. There's nothing wrong with that, but no. I thought, your little thing about, I'm not going to do a song for a lone player, but you put one in your team.
Yeah, that's right. that promotion season, he's probably the best player I've ever seen at the City Ground, and I'm including Gibbs White in that. I love Gibbs White. Gibbs White's incredible, but that one season, that promotion season, the way that he went down that right wing, what a player, Jed Spence. It's kind of like, I know we've got a bit of a sour taste in our mouths because of like kind of like him choosing Tottenham at the end of it. But yeah, absolutely. But if nothing, the best right back that I've ever seen at City Ground in that one season. Not saying that he's a better football player than Ola or Nico and stuff like that, but that one season, that promotion season, my God, he was the best in the world. Best in the world.
The whole point of these teams is it's personal. There's no wrong answers. It's
Absolutely.
what you felt with players. I personally, I had Matt Ford on with me last week. If you haven't checked that episode out, please go and see it, guys. Matt Ford had the same front two, Colin Moore and Van Hooijdonk. I personally can't forgive Van Hooijdonk. For me personally, yeah, he was a great player, but I could never put him in front of Nigel Clough, for example.
I was too much of a kid at that point. It was just like that didn't matter to me. I wasn't paying attention to the politics. All I knew that he was an incredible striker with an incredible free kick on him, and he was my favorite player. So it was just like I didn't get into the whole protest thing, the whole Kevin Campbell situation, and all that kind of like stuff. It wasn't part of my folklore.
And I'm actually pleased about that. It's like, that hasn't tainted your view of someone who meant a lot to you. And that's completely, the right thing. Matt Sells having the season of his life.
Yeah.
Bruce Samba, who probably put in the best performance in the City Ground in the semi-final against Sheffield United. Was it a close call, or was it Samba all day long, all the time?
Samba all day long. For me at the moment, at least. Matt Sells, I absolutely love, absolutely adore, but I've got a soft spot for that promotion team. To me, they're kind of like, they're going to be legendary for the rest of my life, like no matter what happens with them. Bree Samba, I just love his personality. I just love it. I love the eccentricity. I love those personalities in football. That kind of like, I'm addicted to them. The Paulo Di Canios and the Vinnie Jones and the Paul Gascoignes and stuff like that. Those are my players. Those are the ones I live for. But yeah, I just loved him. I just loved him just smacking the striker across the back of the head, like when there's no need to get himself sent off. Just like, inject that stuff into my veins. But yeah, it was very close between Samba, Crossley, and Matt Sells. It's just that kind of like personality tipped over the edge for me, not necessarily ability.
Amazing. The Garibaldi Bards, another fantastic selection from our guests today. Thanks so much for choosing those for us, Jack. Okay, we will quickly do this.
The Cheese Trader, based on Grape Lane in York, is a cheese lover's paradise. Home to some wonderful specialty cheeses, relishes and chutneys, and also with a fantastic street food menu. Try their loaded fries or posh cheese on toast. It'll be the best you've ever had. Owned by Forest fan Stu Freestone, the Cheese Trader proudly sponsors Talking Reds. Quote Talking Reds every time to get 10% off your order. The Cheese Trader and Talking Reds, the perfect cheesy mix.
The perfect cheesy mix. Dan Scapes in the comments says we need to get the Willy Bolly song performed on Top of the Pops as a minimum. So obviously everyone knows that Dan Scape and Willy Bolly have got a love child about that big. And so let's see if we can get that one going as well. Okay. I wanted to make sure that we didn't forget to do this.
The lightning round!
Yes. We are unashamed Friends. I don't know how much of a fan of Friends you are, Jack, but we definitely are huge fans of on this show. So we're going to go through a few questions real quick. So try to answer them as fast as you can. First question is coming up. Favorite Forest player of all time?
Stuart Pearce.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget Psycho.
Oh,
what was your first Forest match live? I think you mentioned it earlier.
I mentioned it. I'm not quite sure, but the one I remember, Forest Tottenham 96 Premier League.
Fantastic. What about player in Forest history would you like to see on the front squad?
Ooh, who would be good? This ain't going to be Lightning. Oh wow! I don't know who we're missing. What we're missing? I'm honestly left back. Stuart Pearce. We need a left back, especially with all that kind of like being injured. We need that. We need bulking up.
That's right, and you could probably say Collymore right now too. I mean, he's an otherworldly player, right?
So, yeah, Collymore, of course.
It is. How about your favorite away or third kit?
Well, obviously the yellow Labatt's one. That was beautiful. I've actually got a soft spot for the Capital One Inter Milan looking one, the blue and black stripes.
Blue and black stripe.
Yeah. I
a
really
nice
like
one.
that one.
Excellent. What about your favorite Forest moment or memory?
Probably Stuart Pearce get what I've already talked about. Stuart Pearce getting one in the face because it set off my whole journey. But the promotion season, that Wembley final. Never known anything like it as a Forest fan. It's been so many years of just being sad. It was just nice to have that feeling and for all Forest fans, it was just amazing. I used to be able to get a ticket. I used to be able to just turn up to the ground and get a ticket. Not anymore, mate. Now they got 20,000 people waiting, signed up for memberships and all that kind of stuff to try and get one. Unbelievable.
For sure.
Dog's going again.
Yeah, see, Dog's also not very pleased with that either. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
If you weren't a Forest fan, what club would you support?
It'll be Notts County or Sunderland, because those are both sides of my family. So me and my dad are the only Forest supporters, I think, in our family. So on my dad's side, they're all Sunderland supporters, and on my mum's side, they're all Notts County supporters. So I've got my dad to thank, because it could be a lot worse.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Apart from Cloughy or Cooper, who was your favorite Forest manager?
It's got to be Nuno at the moment, hasn't it?
Yeah.
He's just done too much. And we've had nothing but dross for the last 25 years. So it's, I mean, you can throw Frank Clark into there, but I was probably too young to witness that. And I don't know whether the feeling around that time when we finished third in the Premier League is anything like the feeling that we're having now. I'm not sure. Probably someone who was there, Greg, could tell me. But yeah, it's got to be Nuno for me.
Absolutely. If Forest could sign one player from a non-top 6 side, who would it be? So we're talking like Villa, Bournemouth, Fulham, Wolves, West Ham.
Oh yeah, Cunha would be a good one. Obviously Watkins, Rodgers. You can probably throw a lot of that Villa side in there. They're a great team. Very disappointing with the weekend's result, but they've got some great depth. The Villa remind me a lot of us. That I just really like them as a team. That's probably going to intensify with the years to come, especially if we're competing around the same areas they are. But that kind of the European pedigree, that manager who was kind of deemed not good enough for a top 6 team and had to take the drop down, quote unquote, to manage one of these clubs, and then start proving themselves and just absolutely tearing the league apart. Just a similar vibe to Emma. So yeah, probably take a bunch of that Villa squad. They're great.
Absolutely. Okay, based on what they do on the pitch right now, who is more valuable to Forest, Morgan Gibbs-White or Murillo? Not necessarily monetary value.
Ooh, tough one. Morgan Gibbs-White. I think with Murillo, I think he's got a great partnership with Milenkovic. I think they're both strengths and weaknesses. They kind of they cover for each other. I think it's one of the greatest defensive partnerships in the Premier League and that we've certainly ever had. Morgan Gibbs-White, he's different. He kind of he makes things happen out of nothing. He's got that little bit of magic in his boots that can just change a game. Just putting it out of his feet, just putting it all the way across the field for Hudson-Odoi to score against Man City. Just little pieces like that, just little dinks, little pieces of greatness. Morgan Gibbs-White, easy.
Fantastic. All right, last question. Forest win the Premier League, but are then relegated into the Championship for the next 25 years. Would you take it?
Oh, I don't know. These previous 25 years have been absolutely awful. So I don't know. Winning the Premier League has got to be amazing, though. That feeling. No, I don't think I would. Yes, I would. No, I don't know. Guys. Leave me alone. Stop asking me questions.
All right, we'll stop torturing you with that one. Yeah. The wonderful Pete Blackburn. I don't know. All right, buddy. Thank you so much for that. Well done.
Thank you. Lightning rounds.
Yeah, that question has definitely had mixed response. At first, it was everyone said no chance, and a lot of people said yes, they would. Matt Ford said, yeah, I'd support my team anywhere. A lot of people have said that. It's a hard one, because we've experienced what it's like being in the Championship. But I guess I think I don't want to sort of mention Leicester on this podcast, but I will mention them. Obviously, they're going through a really rough period at the moment. Mm-hmm. But actually, whilst we were kind of down and out in the Championship and not doing well, they managed to put together a win in the League Cup. They won the Premier League and they've won the FA Cup, all since we've done nothing. So they've kind of had spells. And I suppose if you ask them, they'd say, well, they'd never not to have not won the Premier League, even though the aftermath has been pretty bad for them. So I think I'd probably say, I'd take winning the Premier League to get relegated if you ask me that. But it is a tough one. And I think that it's definitely subjective. Okay,
I'll be able to get a ticket again. I'll be able to get a ticket again when we're playing Yeovil in League One again. Yeah.
All the tickets for the semi-finals are out, and I'm watching people daily say, I've got my ticket. I'm in Windows 7, so spare a thought for poor me and poor others in Windows 7 who, listen, I think the way that they've done the tickets is very fair. There's no complaint whatsoever, but I would also say to those that are season ticket holders, that are pro members, etc. Yes, you spent your money. Yes, you go to the games, and fair enough. But there are another 20,000 people that would take your place. We just haven't got the chance.
This is Nottingham Forest now. We're a global entity. We're the most popular that we've ever been. This is what's going to happen. This is what we asked for. This is kind of like this is what comes with success. I'm not against it. It used to be kind of like a few hundred of us watching us play Walsall in like a terrible Tuesday evening, watching absolutely horrible football, and now we get to see some of the world's best players grace our ground. And
it's interesting you say that, because we've spoken on this podcast quite a lot about the attraction of Forest internationally, and we've got like Bruce in Texas, who comes on the pod. I think he's in the comments. He found Forest like 5-6 years ago before the Premier League, and there are others like him that have, for whatever reason, different reasons, have found Forest and have attached themselves to the club. And you can't say they're glory hunters, because this is at a time when we weren't Premier League. And Bruce and others are so passionate about Forest. What is your view on those type of fans from America, from Japan, from wherever? Because I asked Matt Ford this last week, and he had some interesting things to say, where you might have a fan who gets flown, or they fly themselves over, but then the club rolls the red carpet out and welcomes them and like puts them pitch side. Because I've seen a few snarky fans say, "Oh no, they don't do that for me," and I've been going for 55 years. I mean, I repeat what I've said. These fans from overseas may never come again. I mean, where are you on these international fans and them coming over to support Forest?
I don't mind it at all. It's like, again, when we was in League One and the Championship until halfway through that Championship promotion season, we weren't full up at all. We had a few thousand. We weren't maxing it out and stuff like that. All of a sudden, Nottingham falls in love with football again, and we're selling out, and we've got 20,000 people queuing or on a waiting list for tickets. It's just like kind of like we're guilty of doing the exact same thing here. So when it comes to international fans, this is part of growth. This is part of what we want. This is what happens. This is what happens with Premier League teams. It was what comes with success. I love it. I love it. I want to see Nottingham Forest here, there, and everywhere. I don't want to be just like kind of like with the world famous Nottingham Forest. Let's make it actually so, not just like kind of like that little Milan bar or something along those lines, or someone showing their Nottingham Forest towel in Tenerife or something. Let's we're like fan clubs, like the North America supporters group, or what's it called, Rich?
Oh, NSFC and NA, North America.
Yeah, absolutely. And the growth of that. And
your dad's over. Where's your dad now? He's in America, isn't he? Where is he?
Yeah, he's in Florida. He's on the Panhandle in Florida. He's soaking up the sun.
So that kind of group, Andrew Covey, who is coming on the pod, he kind of steers that. That kind of group is really invaluable for the likes of your dad, isn't it? And other fans.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's just like kind of like he loves Nottingham Forest, and I suppose if he couldn't kind of like share that with people who were over there, he would kind of like. Yeah, he flies back quite often to see games. That's how he ended up on that Premier League interview. But he's just kind of, I think he needs it. I think he needs it, especially being out of the country, because it's what he loves more than anything else in this world is is Nottingham Forest. Or apart from me and his wife. But, well, I don't know. Probably Nottingham Forest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see because it is pretty cathartic. Like Bruce will attest because we're both Bruce from Texas, Bruce Johnston, who's in the comments. We both will attest. Sometimes we have to mute that group. We love everything they have to say, but it's like they are so passionate, and it's just like it's just rampant, right? And there's dozens of them in it, and it's such a brilliant thing to see. And yeah, your dad definitely stands out. He's got a very fair mind, mixed with a good passion for the club too, and he's clearly proud of you. I mean, he was super excited, much to your chagrin, I'm sure, revealing who you are until you guys obviously went to that match, and then everyone knew who you were at that point. But yeah, it was just kind of an interesting thing to hear him be so excited about you doing the intro for us, and him reaching out to me and in the group and saying that's my son. And he's just, I mean, you can tell he's just super proud of everything you do and
it's great.
The talent that you have and everything. So it's brilliant. Yeah.
I've done nothing but disappoint him for the whole of my life. So it's nice to see.
Oh, no way. What about, okay, so here's the question that a lot of people get, asked, or it's kind of bandied about through this social media space. Which would you prefer, the FA Cup or Champions League at this stage? I mean, like Greg says, why not both? We're right there. It's right there for the taking, right?
It is.
But if you had to choose one,
if I had to choose one, it would be the FA Cup. It would be the winning of something. Although, having said that, I'm terrible at these, as you can tell.
They are tough.
Having said that, the Champions League qualification sets us up for bigger and better things, doesn't it? Let's face it, that's football, and the money that comes in, it's a money game. And especially with PSR now, it's all based on your incomings and stuff like that. So what that can open up, it can open up things like what Villa are doing, and the team they're building, and getting like Asensio and Rashford in just out of nowhere, and being able to do that and having the finances to back it up. I think we get, puts us out there, and we've got, all of a sudden we've got Douglas Luiz and Connor and Victor, I can't say his surname, Gyökeres, or however it is.
Gyökeres.
Yeah, Gyökeres. That's it. All of a sudden, you've got those players in. All of a sudden, we've got depth. Next thing you know, it's not just a flash in the pan season. It can be sustainable. It can carry on. So I don't know. But for that moment of standing in Wembley and lifting the FA Cup, winning a trophy, there's nothing that beats that. So there's two sides of the coin. I get it. Why not both? Both things are still possible. So absolutely. But yeah, FA Cup still for me, but that's how I see it. As
I think winning something is crucial. I know that everyone talks about the Champions League, and you've just laid it out, Jack. But silverware, something tangible that we haven't won it for God knows how long, and Cloughie never won it. So for me, it would be the FA Cup. I put out a series of tweets from our Talking Reds account this morning to promote the Garibaldi Bard coming on, and we had a reply from Matt Ford, who said, "What a brilliant talent and ludicrously humble." So Matt Ford has recognised your work.
Oh, Matt Ford's incredible. What a guy to have in our Forest community.
He you know what, the episode of him,
Mastermind champion, by the way.
I know. Well, he's great. I have retweeted that. So the process has started now. I've tagged in the Trent Navigation. I've tagged in Rick Parfitt Jr. So we are now on a mission to see if we can create a bit of a buzz.
Oh, is that right?
Happening at the Trent Nav. Mark is with us. Way NFFC. Thank you for the £2 donation. He says, "I'm queuing for Wembley tickets." He's tapping those fingers impatiently. Good luck to you, Mark, and to everyone else in the battle for tickets. Make some noise at Wembley. Whoever gets there, that's going to be the most important thing of all. Can you sum up your emotions, Jack, on this season? I mean, it's been a roller coaster, more highs than lows. The defeat you referenced at Villa obviously was a bit of a pain. And we've had that word that I like to throw around, bounce back ability, quite a lot this season. So we're hoping for some of that on Saturday against Everton. But sum it up for us. How has this season been for you?
It's been amazing. It's been what I've dreamed of for the whole of my life being a Forest fan. I was too young to enjoy the past glories. So this is kind of like, this is it. Just the last 3-4 seasons, I've just been an incredible ride that I am certainly not used to. It's usually just like, oh, I lost again. Yeah, or playoffs. Maybe we will go out in the semis or something along those lines. If we get there. Listen, it's been amazing, and again, I think it's like the growth of the social media content creators coming out there, or the podcasts that are coming up, all the creative people who are getting involved. We've got like kind of like Jamie Martin and Ellie, who are kind of like representing us, Greg from Forest Focus and stuff like that, representing us online, and doing some great things as well. Listen, we got. Like it's not just doing great things for the football club and the Forest fans and stuff like that, but also some very talented people who get to express themselves as well, which is great. I love it. I've absolutely fallen in love with football again, and I think that's what a lot of other people are going through as well. It's just like kind of like, yeah, there's something to be happy and cheerful about. Yeah, it's great.
Amazing. So one last question. So obviously you create vibes with your music. You're putting that out there and enhancing the vibe that's already in the club. But for you, who's the player of the season thus far?
Oh gosh, who is it? There's so many. You know, Chris Wood is getting the goals. Matt Sells is keeping all the clean sheets. The partnership of Murillo and Milenkovic. Ola's been incredible. Nico's been incredible. Morgan, both the wingers, Alango, Hudson-Odoi. How'd you pick? It's going to have to be just like a massive vote at the. I don't know. I have no idea. I love them all. Ryan Yates is mine.
Listen, they've all had moments. They've all. You know, I'm pinning my hopes on a big Willy Bolly moment for Dan by the end of the season. I've said that a few times, but they've all had moments. They've all been absolutely fantastic. We are nearly out of time, so I guess we ought to do this.
Name that grandmother.
Yes, this is my little favourite segment at the end. These are coming at you, Mr. Bard, thick and fast and quickly.
Okay.
Mark, to love it or hate it.
Hate it.
How am I cooking your steak?
Medium rare.
What's your favourite cheese?
Cheddar.
What's the best sandwich?
Oh God. Do you know what? A classic cheese and tomato. Yeah.
And in honour of the segment it's named after, what are your grandmother's names?
The lovely Margaret and the lovely Susan. Beautiful women.
Wonderful grandmother's names. And we salute you, grandparents across the world, wherever you may be. My goodness me, that brings us to the end of this episode with the fantastic Garibaldi Bard. It's been everything we hoped it would be. It's been an absolute joy and a privilege to sit with you and chat with you. We'd love to have you come back on again. Now that you've pulled the curtain back and the Wizard of Oz moment has occurred, although you're a lot more grander than the Wizard of Oz is behind the curtain, we'd love to have you come back on again. Maybe come and do a preview or review show with us and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, get me involved all the time, whenever you want me. I'll try and get some better light, so I'm not kind of like huddled in the darkness.
And then next time, I think we'll get the guitar out and we'll get you on the thing.
Oh, this is what we're doing, is it? This is
100%. Well, listen, I think me and Richard have assigned ourselves your management team now, so we are we're on a mission to get the Bard out there as far as possible. Anything that you'd like to say before you leave us, Jack?
No, just. Thank you for all the love and support from absolutely everyone. I'm really glad that you enjoy what I do. It's not going to stop. Thank you to you guys. I think you're doing wonderful. Yeah, you're really great. You've been nothing but supportive, like from the first moments, from just like, from me releasing my first couple of songs, you were kind of like there and on board like straight away. So thank you very much for that. And dragging me on and inviting me on, because you invited me on a long time ago, and it's only now that I'm kind of like come across. So yeah, really appreciate that. Lots of love to all you Nottingham Forest fans. Come on, you Reds.
Amazing. Richard Spray, over to you.
I gotta say, I gotta do one little plug. And look, I'm gonna be one of those guys that throws something out at you and says, "Hey, why don't you do this?" Right? I gotta put a plug in for an Oklahoma kid. Speaking about Oklahoma kids who are in a band called Kings of Leon, kind of feels like a little bit of your vibe too. So I'm gonna put the "Sex Is on Fire" track and manipulate that to be a Chris Wood thing. I think that might be a little within your wheelhouse. So if you think about it, yeah, it may not be. That's what I'm saying. You know, it's a little connection to the Oklahoma area, you know, in the U.S. because they are University of Oklahoma fans. They are big fans.
I much prefer their older stuff, but we'll see what we can do, Rich.
They're so good. But anyway, and hey, no pressure, man. If you don't want to do it, you're the creative genius. I'm just throwing something out there. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal to have you on and the opportunity to connect with your family too, who are here in the States. It's just brilliant. So appreciate your dad, Dave. He's an absolute legend, just like you. So thank you so much.
He's a good lad. Yeah, get him on. Get him on.
Will.
You would love this.
Right. Hey, both of you for a review. That'd be brilliant.
Have you both on? The one with series is quite possibly mine and Richard's favourite aspect of Talking Reds. Since we started nearly a year ago, you know, we've had some amazing guests on. We've been really fortunate. Every single one of you who's come on and sat in that chair and done the lightning round and taking part in the crazy Name That Grandmother and all the other stuff that we do, you know, we're so grateful for people giving up their time. And so, you know, we will continue to reach out into the fan base and try and get as many people into that chair as possible of all different types. Every Forest fan in our eyes is equal. And that is the most important thing. Yes, there are some fans that are coming to the club now that perhaps haven't been around before. And there's people that have been around for years and years and years. But as Jack said, it's all about growth. It's all about taking the club in the right direction. The most important thing is that we stay unified. We stay together. We get behind the team. There's 7 games left in the Premier League. There's points to be had. There's a semi-final to win and maybe an FA Cup final as well. And I'm betting you now that at every step along the way, this man in that chair, the Garibaldi Bard, will be strumming that guitar and coming out with some absolute classics. This has been the one with the Garibaldi Bard. We'll see you soon.
Come join Greg and Richard right here on Talking Red.